It is now 17 minutes after the hour of 6 a.m. and this is your Spotlight on Now. I am Kimberly with you on a bright and I'm hoping sunny Monday morning. Well, this is your Spotlight on Now and we have standing by the Minister of Youth Development and National Service, Mr. Foster Cummings, and he's going to be discussing a little bit about the Youth Agricultural Homestead Program. Mr. Cummings, good morning.
Good morning, Kimberly, and good morning to Trinidad and Tobago. A pleasure to be here on this early Monday morning to discuss matters pertaining to youth development in Trinidad and Tobago.
Of course, and we're always happy to have you, Minister. Well, let's jump right in. I mean, we have the Youth Agricultural Homestead Program. Tell us a little bit about the program, because if I'm not mistaken, it's a 2-year program, right?
Yes, it is. It's a 2-year program. The first year involves training at UTT in a certificate in agriculture. And the second year will involve the practical component that will be administered by the Ministry of Agriculture on the lands that would have been assigned to the participants. The program involves, of course, producing new 21st century agro-entrepreneurs as we introduce new farmers into the agricultural sector with a focus, of course, on young people getting involved in farming. And we've been receiving a lot of interest in this program. I must tell you.
Now, you mentioned young people, so I'm just wondering the age group. What age group can apply to this program?
The program focuses on young persons between the ages 18 to 35. And of course, it involves both male and female. And in the first cohort, we expect to train 150 new farmers. The intention is that we will develop idle state lands and make those lands available to those persons who demonstrate a keen interest in agriculture and who are able to successfully complete the program of training. It's homestead farming, so that the government will take these lands, develop the lands, put in the infrastructure, including a starter home, and of course a shed for the farmers to sort and pack their produce, and give the requisite monitoring and evaluation and technical assistance to make sure that these farmers are successful. It also involves, at the end of the training, a $20,000 grant to assist these farmers with their initial inputs.
Now, you did mention a starter home, Minister. So is it that while you're doing the program, you can actually have the farm and you can own a home at the end of it? How does it work exactly?
Yes, it is. Yes, you're quite correct. The LSC is the execution agency for this program. And you would know that they have successfully executed an HVIP program throughout Trinidad and Tobago, constructing a starter home at very reasonable cost with some sweat equity from the owners. And that is the model that we'll be using for this homestead program to make sure that you live and farm at the same location. So it's families getting involved in farming. At the end of the program, we intend to ensure that not only the recipient, but of course, those involved, those other persons, members of the family will also be involved in this farming and they'll be able to make a living from this enterprise, and as well, they'll be able to provide housing for them.
Nice, interesting. And where exactly is the land located?
Several locations. Our initial location will be the former Petrotrin property at Chatham, which is the Chatham Dairy Farm. We also will be moving to Palo Seco, another former Petrotrin property, one at Faizabad as well. And the La Gloria estate in New Grand Princestown is also part of that estate. It's also assigned for this program. We'll be going to areas as well, such as Grand Hoover, Sangre Grande, Santa Cruz, and Talpa. Those are some of the areas that have been selected in the first and second phase of the program. And as I said, the pilot program will be at Chatham. The intention is that while the training is taking place, the development will be taking place simultaneously, so that at the end of year one, we'll be able to move the trainees into the practical component of the program. Applications started in March, 1st of March, and because of the overwhelming response, and it's an online application, we have extended that to the 24th of March to give as wide a cross-section of young people as possible opportunity to apply.
That was actually going to be my next question because I think applications were supposed to close off today. But you mentioned that you got a lot of responses. How many have you gotten thus far? Have you reached the 150 mark that you wanted?
We have passed that, we've surpassed that, but of course, there is an evaluation process that will follow the application process. But because we have been receiving so many calls from members of the public who would like to participate in the program, and some of them, in terms of gathering the documents that are required for the application, who are having some challenges, we decided we will extend for additional 10 days to allow them, because they would need to get a certificate of character, and that particular item posed some difficulties for some applicants. So we extended the deadline to facilitate that.
Now, Minister, you mentioned one of the objectives, of course, of the program is to build entrepreneurship among these young farmers. What else is expected from these young farmers after? Is it that you want to, let's say, revitalize the agricultural sector? I mean, what are some of the other objectives of the program?
Well, we wish to add to our food security, and therefore we think that this program is going to, this small scale farming is going to certainly do that, assist us in producing healthy foods for our population at, of course, reasonable prices, because it's also going to increase competition, so we'll keep the prices at a manageable level. And as well, we will implement a value-added component of this program in terms of the agro-processing to encourage our farmers to produce, add life, and introduce these products on the local market, but as well for the export market. Because Trinidad and Tobago has the capacity, we have the know-how to continue to be leaders in the Caribbean region. So we encourage our farmers to export to the Caribbean, but as well to the international market.
Now, Minister, as you mentioned, export, are there certain types of products that you're encouraging the farmers to plant?
Well, what will happen in the second year of the program is the Ministry of Agriculture will, of course, do their soil testing and advise the farmers on what are the best crops that would, bring good yield in the area that they have been assigned. And as I said, there will be a monitoring evaluation unit on the estate that will provide all that sort of technical assistance. We also intend, as part of this program, to provide land preparation services for the farmers, which would be brush cutting, plowing, rotavating, etc. And the Ministry of Agriculture will assist with providing technical advice on fertilizers and pesticides and weedicides, and as well what we now term the modern farming, which will involve things like hydroponics, aquaponics, and so forth. And we, of course, intend to collaborate with Kariri. We intend to collaborate with the Ministry of Digitization as we introduce new and modern techniques in farming. Because it's not, while it's 2 acres, if you go to the traditional farming methods, that may not allow the farmers to produce at the extent that they should to be able to export, etc. So that using the modern techniques, that of course will increase their yield and the time frame within which they can produce these crops and cause them to be competitive on the local and regional markets.
Nice. Now, Minister, I mean, a project such as this has, of course, a lot of gains, but in terms of cost, what is the estimated cost of this program?
This program is intended to cost over the initial 3-year period 100 million per year. In terms of the major cost, of course, is the development cost in terms of putting in the infrastructure, but we want to make sure that the farmers have proper access to their lands, that they're able to have issues of irrigation and water access properly in place. And at the end of the day, the benefits, of course, are quite significant, and the investment is well worth it.
Nice. Now, Minister, as we are on the topic of youth development, I know that the ministry was also looking at something, I think it was a national service complex. Can you share a little bit about that in terms of updates, where it will be located, etc.?
The National Service Complex will be located at the former Petroleum Property Beach Camp in Palo Seco. It is intended, as a matter of fact, the Cabinet appointed advisory committee which is headed by Dr. I'll get back to the head of the committee, but the committee is advanced in doing their work. The chairman and I speak very regularly, and very soon the committee will submit its report to the cabinet, and that will give us the model for the national service. But I can tell you it's a voluntary program, and that programs that we currently have in place, such as MyLat, MyPart, and Civilian Conservation Corps, the transition homes, all of these programs are being considered to be part of our national service offering. And the additional complex, which will be at the Mausika, the old Mausika Trading College in the East, and that as well will provide our young people who are interested in such a program to have access at 2 locations. And we are working feverishly to get these programs off the ground as soon as possible.
Now,
you would
Minister,
know that we also announced the reintroduction of youth camps, and the government will reintroduce the camps at Presto Presto, at Chatham, at Shadaramas. We will do a flagship camp at Waterfield, and next week we go across to Tobago to follow up on a visit we had from the Chief Secretary and his team a couple of weeks ago to look at reintroducing the camp at Mount St. George in Tobago. We will also reintroduce the El Dorado camp for girls, and work on all these programs are currently in progress.
Now, Minister, if I remember correctly, is this also residential as well, and will the participants be given a stipend during that time?
The youth camps, yes, are all residential. In terms of the national service programs, they are all residential, but we do have as well non-residential programs, and that will be the youth development centers, which will offer some of the similar technical vocational offerings as the residential programs. But of course, we intend to take some of these programs deeper into the communities, and that non-residential facility will offer similar technical vocational training, because we really want to produce the type of worker for the workforce in terms of all the development objectives of the country, and as well to make sure that persons who are interested in entrepreneurship get the required training in their field, so that we can have what we would term job creators as opposed to job seekers. And so with both of these objectives in mind, we expect to have many of our young people fully trained and out in the workforce in the shortest possible time.
Now, Minister, we only have a few minutes left, but I just really want to hear just a little update on the agreement. I know that the ministry recently signed, I think it was an MOU with Central Bank. I believe it had something to do with credit unions and maybe improving the credit union sector. Can you tell us a bit about that MOU before we wrap?
Sometime in 2019, Cabinet appointed a subcommittee to look at the credit union movement and how we develop the regulatory support for the movement. And coming out of that subcommittee, 2 of the recommendations involve an MOU with the FIU, which was executed prior to me coming into office. And what you're seeing now is the second recommendation in that regard with the central bank. And this will involve institutional support for the cooperative development division in terms of their regulatory function as the regulator of credit unions. The central bank, of course, with its experience in the financial services sector as a regulator, will, of course, be able to bring that experience to bear in sharing that knowledge with the cooperative development division. And the MOU that was signed is intended to facilitate that type of cooperation and partnership. And we are very pleased we were able to get to this point. And the Commissioner for Corporate Development and her department will certainly benefit, and we look forward
Minister?
movement is very excited about the.
We seem to be having problems. Minister, can you hear me?
I am hearing you clearly. Are you hearing me now?
Yes, I'm hearing you now. We had a little bit of connectivity issues there. But before you go, just going back to the Youth Agricultural Homestead Program, I know you said it was extended until March 24th. If anybody wants more information about this program, can you tell us where we can go, maybe to get more info or even to apply? Minister, are you there? All right, I think we lost the minister there, but we had, of course, Mr. Foster Cummings, who is the Minister of Youth Development and National Service, talking to us about the Youth Agricultural Development Program. What he's saying is that it has been extended until the 24th of March. So again, that is great news. Right, guys?